Barnaby Joyce, welcome to 7:30.
It's a pleasure, Sarah.
In the event that China tries to take control of Taiwan, what do the Taiwanese expect from Australia?
Well, I'd leave that up to the Taiwanese, obviously. I'm not going to start speaking for them. What I know that everybody wants is peace. Obviously, there's nothing to be profited from a war. Obviously, on a humanitarian level, it'd be absolutely catastrophic. And to a vastly lesser degree, but incredibly important, economically, it'd be catastrophic. No one wins from a war. It's loss all around, and loss of lives, and of course, economically, you go back decades. Have a look at what's happening over in other parts of the world. It's a very, very bad idea as a war.
We've seen an announcement from Washington today talking about deploying more troops and equipment in Australia. Will you be discussing that with the Taiwanese president tomorrow?
Well, I'll let the president lead the discussion, and I'm sure all of us, all in the delegation, are happy to respond as we see fit and appropriate, but I'll let the president take lead on that. I'm very aware of the meetings between Ministers Miles, Wong, Blinken and Austin from the United States, obviously Blinken and Austin from the United States, and across that, and circumstances have changed. We wish they hadn't, but we've got to be a realist and accept that they have.
When you say circumstances have changed, what do you mean?
Well, obviously there's been a ramp up in the militarisation, especially the South China Sea, and what we're seeing, an absolute escalation in militarisation, and our job is defence of our nation, defence of our region, and we have to take the appropriate measures to make sure that we're not left behind. That's what the Australian people would expect of us.
Just on a domestic issue, Mr Dutton has said that he wants to listen respectfully to the arguments about the voice to Parliament. Why did the Nationals jump ahead with a declaration of a no to the voice to Parliament?
Well, that's not the case. As I said before, I've tabled a private member's bill on regional senators back in 2020. They didn't even give it debating time, and that would have given not only Indigenous senators a voice to Parliament, would have put Indigenous senators in the Parliament. So it's not as if we haven't come up with alternatives, and the issue that we have in regional areas is how do we explain to people of exactly the same economic circumstances that one person can avail themselves of a greater access to the democratic process than the other person can, and they're both living in exactly the same condition next door to one another in a Western New South Wales, Western Queensland town. How do I explain that to them?
Why do the Nationals feel the need to get ahead of the Liberal Party? Are you trying to force them to adopt the same position as you?
No, the circumstances that we see ourselves in are decidedly different. As I've said, it's not as if we haven't come up with alternatives. Regional senators was a unanimous position of the Nationals Federal Council, and of course, the senators that come in from the Gulf or from the Kimberleys would be Indigenous, Aboriginal. So let's park the idea that we haven't had as party alternative positions that would bring about a better outcome. And that can be done by legislation, Sarah. It doesn't need a referendum. Referendums are incredibly divisive, because if the referendum goes down, we've got a real problem in regional areas, and we live with that problem.
That wasn't the argument put forward by David Littleproud. He said they wanted practical solutions and that there wasn't enough detail put forward. The former Liberal Minister for Indigenous Australians said that was lazy and disappointing. What do you say to that? Well,
there's a whole range of arguments, no doubt, Sarah, but I'm saying for my part, and I grew up Danglema. I went to school at Walbrook. It was in a town you'll have one family identifying as white, another family identifying as Aboriginal. In my area, they're called Aboriginals. Everybody's getting along. But after this, you create a division because one house gets access to a certain increase in their democratic process that the other house doesn't. And they'll say to me, well, Barney, explain it to me. We're both... People should be approached in the economic circumstances they find themselves in, not under the colour of their skin. So if people are if people are living in an area of depressed economic circumstances, let's address that, regardless of their colour.
Just to come back to your visit to Taiwan, what will you be discussing with the President tomorrow?
I think in any of these discussions, we'll let the Taiwanese follow the lead, and we're here as part of this is a ritual. Australians have been coming here in delegations for as long as I've been in Parliament, and hopefully a long time in the future. And we'll let the discussion go where it may.
Barnaby Joyce, thank you very much for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Sarah. Thank you very much.